You think betrayal begins with a kiss in a dark corner, but it rarely starts there. It starts 3 weeks earlier in a brightly lit room where everyone's wearing name tags, or on a treadmill with fluorescent lights, or on a couch where the only glow is a phone. She turns slightly away. The first step isn't a touch, it's a permission slip, tiny, deniable, written in the margins of routine. Most men miss it because they're looking for smoke when the fire is still a spark catching lint. What I'm about to show you is where those sparks usually live, not to turn you into a detective, but to stop you from gaslighting your own senses. Women may not confess, but they do reveal, through time, tone, and trajectories. If you learn to read where dynamics are born, you won't have to interrogate where they end. Before we walk through these 5 places, take 10 seconds to subscribe and drop your city in the comments. I want to see the map this message draws because these beginnings speak the same language in Bogota, New York, Madrid, and Manila. Stay to the end because the 5th place is the quietest and the most respectable looking. No one suspects it, and that's exactly why it's so effective. Now, let's get back to the story. There's a difference between privacy and secrecy. Privacy is a door you can knock on. Secrecy is a corridor with mirrors. Privacy protects individuality. Secrecy protects duplicity. You don't need to police a phone or read a single text to defend your standards. You need one skill. Check whether words and time tell the same truth. If they don't, your job isn't to accuse. It's to align your behavior with reality. That alignment is self-respect, and self-respect is attraction. First to yourself, then to whoever can meet you there. Number 1. The workplace after hours, the project that becomes a planet. Infidelity rarely bursts through a window. It grows in the shade of something noble. That's why work is the safest harbor for a drifting boundary. Purpose is attractive. Competence is magnetic. Shared goals feel like intimacy because both bodies are leaning in the same direction. At first, it's harmless. A deadline, a brainstorm, the rush of solving something together. Then the calendar begins to bend. A late meeting that always seems to stretch 15 minutes past what makes sense. A coffee that slides into a debrief that slides into an "I'll walk you out." No crime yet, just choreography. The psychology here is proximity plus repetition. The brain binds what repeats under mild emotional arousal. You don't need romance, you need a reliable microdose of dopamine attached to a face. The trap men fall into is outsourcing vigilance to the word professional. We tell ourselves, she's ambitious, that's attractive, and we're right. What we miss is the shift from professional transparency to curated opacity. Names become roles, a colleague. Specifics become fog, some stakeholders. Time becomes rubber. We just lost track. Your move isn't control. It's clarity without performance. You don't demand roll calls or confiscate phones. You name one standard in a single sentence and let behavior answer. Late happens. Secrecy doesn't. Keep me in the loop the way I keep you in the loop, or I step back. Then you measure only patterns, not explanations. Practical test in the next 72 hours. Suggest a neutral, low-friction check-in during the late work slot. Shoot me a quick heading out text when you leave. I'll do the same from my side. Transparent rhythms love that sentence. Secret ones resist it or forget on loop. A brief scene. She used to come home with stories, characters, mishaps, office politics. Now, we becomes they, and laughter shows up without context. You put down your keys and say nothing. 2 weeks later, there's plenty of time for work, but none for you. Self-audit. Complete the sentence 3 ways. I knew the project became a planet when... Recalibration. I won't police effort. I will respond to secrecy. Say it once. Don't decorate it. Then watch the clock tell you who you're with. Number 2. The gym or studio. The place that sells improvement with touch. Few environments are built more perfectly for microbonding than a fitness floor or boutique studio. The lighting flatters, the music regulates, the mirror creates an audience, progress is visible, and praise comes in precise doses. Add a trainer or enthusiastic instructor who learns her name, her weak side, her personal best, and you've created a pipeline for validation that feels earned, not flirted into being. The psychology is embodiment plus coaching. The body remembers who helped it do hard things. Corrections require proximity. Proximity allows electricity to hide inside technique. It starts as, he's great at cues, shifts into, he just gets how my hips compensate, and lands at, I feel seen. Men miss the shift because the alibi is health. And who wants to argue with health? The trap is dismissing your own senses in the name of being secure. Security isn't ignoring a pattern. Security is holding a standard without panic. Your move is to listen to the choreography, not the captions. Has the schedule subtly reorganized itself around a class or a person? Do rest days vanish while other shared rituals erode? Are new phrases entering the house in an instructor's voice? None of that proves betrayal. It maps attention. Practical test. Convert one solo session into a shared session once this week. Let's hit Saturday's class together and grab breakfast after. If the energy is clean, she lights up or negotiates another time openly. If the energy is entangled, you'll see the stage managing. Sudden switch to another hour. Preemptive resistance. Vague logistics that always keep you and the class separate. A brief scene. You walk into the lobby 5 minutes early just to hand over a water bottle and head out. Eyes flicker. A conversation cuts mid-word. Bodies arrange themselves like chairs being pushed in. No accusation needed. Your nervous system just got a data point. Self-audit. I knew the gym became a stage when... Recalibration. Your body goals deserve support. My standards deserve daylight. The sentence is small. The relief is big. Number 3, the phone at night, the velvet doorway of DMs and group chats. The most dangerous place isn't geographic. It's a portal. Thin, bright, begging for a thumb. Affairs used to need logistics. Now they need a Wi-Fi signal and 5 minutes when the room goes quiet. The psychology is intermittent reinforcement. Likes and messages land at unpredictable intervals, and the brain learns to check. Not because it's hungry, but because the next pellet might be extraordinary. Add nostalgia, the ex who just wanted to see how you've been. Novelty, the stranger who laughs exactly at the right joke. Or social proof, the friend of friends who swims in the same digital pond. And you have the perfect storm. It doesn't start with, hey, beautiful. It starts with the gentle escalation, reactions, inside jokes, shared memes, a harmless vent about work being insane, a late night, you up? That arrives disguised as a meme at 12:43 a.m. The trap men fall into is arguing with the form instead of the function. We say, it's just a phone, and act like noticing secrecy is insecurity. It isn't. The line between privacy and secrecy shows itself as soon as the device becomes a puppet master. Your move is to anchor time, not to audit content. If a phone can sit face up during neutral shared tasks, picking a movie, ordering dinner, looking at calendars, you're in a privacy zone. If it flips face down when nothing sensitive is on the table, if it travels into hallways for innocuous scrolls, if the laughter happens with the screen rather than with you, you're in a secrecy corridor. Practical test. Declare a soft tech boundary you will also keep. No phones at dinner or in bed for a week. I need a nervous system reset. The secure respond with curiosity or playful resistance and then adapt. The entangled make it a referendum on trust, or agree and cheat the rule with bathroom breaks and hallway scrolls. A brief scene. The lights are off. The screen flashes. She turns just enough that the glow paints the wall, not her face. You say, let's park the phones. My head is cooked. She sighs, says 1 sec, and the sec becomes 5 minutes you can count in your chest. You don't grab, you don't lecture, you track. Self-audit. I knew the phone became a corridor when... Recalibration. I don't need your password. I need congruence. The moment you stop begging for access and start naming conditions for presence, the room gets honest, sometimes beautifully, sometimes brutally. Let's pause and clear one thing up. None of these places create betrayal by themselves. They are accelerants, not origins. The origin is always the same. An unattended need meets unguarded attention. That means you don't solve this by banning opportunities. You solve it by living with eyes open and standards that move your feet when the story and the schedule disagree. And if you're worried that standards will make you controlling, hear this. Control is about managing another adult. Standards are about managing yourself. Control says, give me your phone. Standards say, I don't live where transparency has to be chased. Control grabs, standards walk. One corrodes attraction, the other maintains it, even when that maintenance means leaving. Now look more closely at the workplace again, but at night. The first time she stayed late, you made tea for when she came home. The third time, you texted a joke and she answered with a thumbs up and nothing else. The sixth time, the story changed on the way from the elevator to the couch. None of those moments require you to raise your voice. They require you to raise your standard. I love your drive. I also love the part of our life that isn't a meeting. If late becomes a rhythm, I'm not funding it with full access to me. You say it once. Then you watch. A woman who is with you will feel the line as safety, not as offense. A woman who's walking out emotionally will bounce against it and blame the fence for the direction she's already chosen. Slide back to the gym. Improvement is addictive because it keeps paying tiny wins. That means the person associated with those wins becomes a small god if you let them. If you're her partner and you want to protect your house, you don't attack the gym. You diversify the ritual. Let's train together on Wednesdays. Show me what you learned. Saturdays, I'll do your finisher, you do mine. Rituals that can include you by design but refuse to in practice aren't rituals. They're escape hatches. You don't need to slam them shut. You need to stop pretending they lead to the same room. Return to the phone. If you need one sentence to tattoo on your calendar, make it this. The more a device needs to be stage managed, the more it is managing the stage. A partner who is present will eventually put the screen down because your face tells a better story. A partner who is drifting will feed the screen so it can feed her. You can't outcompete intermittent reinforcement with gifts or speeches. You can only make a boundary and keep it. No phones in bed, no phones at dinner, and no explaining a standard more than once. The moment you keep it for yourself without rage, you find out what you're actually in. Zoom out and notice the common thread. Deniability. These beginning places all ride the same alibi: productivity, health, connection. That's why they're powerful. You will feel crazy for noticing. You'll tell yourself you're jealous, insecure, old-fashioned. You're not. You're literate. Literate in time, in temperature, in choreography. You're learning to read relationships like a musician reads timing. And once you hear a rhythm change, you can never unhear it. That's a gift. It's also a responsibility. A lot of men ask, so what do I say without sounding accusatory? Try this. I'm not asking for your phone or a confession. I'm telling you what my nervous system needs to live here, patterns that match what we say we're building. If she cares about the bond, she will lean toward coherence. If she cares about the thrill, she will lean toward fog. Either way, you're no longer begging the weather to change. You're grabbing an umbrella and deciding whether to go out. Let me give you a 1-minute checklist you can run this week. No drama, no speeches. First, ask yourself whether any one part of her life has become the sun everything else orbits. Not temporarily. Finals week, big product launch, but chronically. Second, Ask whether that sun requires new privacy habits to shine. Face-down devices, vague names, moving call locations, rerouting calendars. Third, ask whether your attempts to share the orbit are welcomed or deflected. If you score 2 out of 3, you don't declare war. You declare standards. If you score 3 out of 3, you don't declare war either. You declare a limit, and then you live like your limit protects something valuable, your clarity. There's a softer side to this too. Sometimes these beginnings are cries for aliveness, not strategies for betrayal. That doesn't make the pattern harmless. It means repair is possible if responsibility is real. Real repair sounds like this. You're right. The pattern changed. Here's what happened. Here's how I fed it. Here's how I'm freezing it now. Transparency on late nights. Shared classes when I can. Phone parked away from the bed. And you can predict me again. Notice the shape. Acknowledgement without theater. Plan without punishment. Time that tells on itself. If you hear that shape, and then you watch the plan live for weeks, not hours, you have a story worth keeping. If you hear a speech and then meet fog, you have a decision worth making. Before we close part 1, take this 24-hour challenge. Pick just one place, the workplace, the gym, or the phone. Set one standard that you can keep without her help. For the workplace, text me heading out when you leave. I'll do the same. For the gym, let's share one session this week and grab breakfast after. For the phone, no devices in bed tonight. My brain needs a break. Keep it with a calm face and a quiet tone. Then watch your body. Relief is data. Tightness is data. Her reaction is data. If you make room for clean data, the story you're in will either soften toward you or harden away from you. Both are merciful because both stop you from living in contradiction. In part 2, we'll walk into the last two places, the respectable community that looks like virtue but functions like a veil, and the travel-shaped window that distorts distance, time, and consequence. We'll give you the psychology, the trap, the move, the test, a short scene for each, and the one-line recalibration you can actually keep. Remember, your life is not a courtroom. You don't need proof beyond a reasonable doubt. You need a posture beyond self-betrayal. Subscribe, drop your city, and meet me in the next section. The 5th place is the quietest ground zero, and once you see it, you'll never unsee it. Welcome back. In part 1, we map the first 3 incubators. The after-hours project that becomes a planet, the gym that sells improvement with touch, and the velvet doorway of late-night DMs. Remember the operating system. Privacy is a door you can knock on. Secrecy is a corridor with mirrors. You're not here to police another adult. You're here to stop abandoning yourself. Keep that posture as we step into the last 2 places. They look the cleanest from the outside, which is why they're the most effective inside. Your job isn't to catch. It's to read the choreography of time, tone, and trajectories, and then live in alignment with what you see. Number 4, the respectable community, volunteer groups, book clubs, church teams, professional associations, school committees, activism circles. On paper, it's virtue, service, growth, connection. In practice, it's also a perfect alibi for emotional migration because noble banners mute your instincts. The psychology here is a triple blend, halo effect. We forgive what's attached to good causes. Tribal bonding, shared mission creates fast intimacy, and moral licensing. Doing good buys unconscious permission to ignore slippery boundaries. Nobody texts "you up" in these rooms. They exchange resources, memes about the fundraiser, thoughtful quotes, quick voice notes, until the thread widens to include personal stress, shared jokes, late debriefs after events. And then the dopamine loop is established under the cover of serving. The shift is subtle. She says, "we" more than "I." Schedules flex around committee calls, and names slowly become roles. I'll be with the team, replaces I'll be with Daniel and Anna. That's not a smoking gun, it's a smoke machine, respectable, fragrant, and thick. The trap men fall into is outsourcing discernment to the banner. It's the PTA. It's a charity. It's a Bible study. It's a women in tech meetup. You feel silly for noticing your stomach tighten over something so good, so you file the report your body wrote under jealousy. But literacy isn't jealousy, it's adulthood. Your move is to ask whether the community is porous or sealed. Healthy groups breathe. They welcome visibility, overlap, invitations, shared language you can learn. Sealed communities breed fog. New jargon appears you're not going to get. Sudden inside jokes arrive without context, and the calendar starts bowing toward events that never quite have room for you to observe. Don't interrogate. Verify porosity. I'd love to help at Saturday's booth. Put me to work. Let's host your book club one night. I'll cook and vanish when you start. Introduce me to the crew. I keep hearing about them. Normal energy says yes or negotiates a clean alternative. Entangled energy deflects, delays, or frames your curiosity as control. Practical test for the next 10 days. Move one touch point from private to visible. If she's on planning calls, propose a rotating open house night. Why don't we run one of those calls here? I'll work on headphones in the next room. If it's a meetup, host it once. If it's service, volunteer shoulder to shoulder one time. You're not auditing the humans, you're checking whether sunlight destabilizes anything. A community that is healthy gains energy when partners show up. A community that is functioning as a veil loses oxygen under daylight and will unconsciously push you outside. A brief scene. You're chopping vegetables while she laughs on speaker with the core team. When you step into the kitchen doorway, the phone flips to her ear and the conversation shrinks 2 sizes. Later you suggest, let's host the next one here. I'll keep out of the way, but I'll set up snacks. She smiles with her mouth and says, it's just easier at the cafe. 1 easier means nothing. 3 in a row, paired with a schedule that keeps bending, means the banner is doing more than announcing a cause. It's covering a corridor. You don't fight the banner. You set a standard and let the room answer. I love that you give your time. I won't live where meaningful parts of your life have to stay sealed. If we can't make this porous, I'll step back from full access to me. 1 sentence, said once. Then you watch the next month tell you where you live. Self-audit. Finish this line 3 ways. I knew the good group became a veil when... Maybe it was new jargon that made you a tourist in your own home, a leader's name appearing more often than your own, or the way post-event debriefs always needed a long walk alone. Read your answers out loud. If your throat tightens, that's not paranoia, that's precision. Recalibration in 1 line. I don't attack your mission, I require porosity. You can be pro-service and anti-secrecy at the same time. Adults who want a life with you will build windows. Adults who want a second stage will build curtains. Zoom out for a moment and notice how the 4 places we've covered rhyme. Work replaced presence with purpose. Fitness replaced intimacy with improvement. The phone replaced conversation with intermittent pellets. Community replaced transparency with virtue. Each one carries a noble alibi. Each one lives or dies on porosity. If you take nothing else from this video, take this. The opposite of control is not passivity. It's standard. Control chases. Standard stands. Control inflames. Standard clarifies. Number 5. Travel. Conferences, offsites, retreats, destination races, girls' weekends, bachelorette gatherings. I just need a reset solo trips. Travel distorts time, distance, and consequence. The psychology is liminality. Airports, hotels, and new cities create threshold spaces where identity loosens. Combine anonymity, nobody knows me here, plausible logistics, terrible Wi-Fi, time zones, long days, and group permission. We all went out after. And you get the perfect incubator. The first night is a team dinner. The second night is just drinks with the marketing folks. The third night is I'm wiped, crashing early. Which would be fine if the camera roll and the texts told the same story. But travel is the art of stories without witnesses. Again, you don't need to accuse. You need to read whether contact becomes rubber while schedules become stone. When love is present, time zones stretch, but they don't erase. When attention has migrated, 1 hour behind becomes an excuse to go 3 days without congruent contact. The trap men fall into here is accepting the travel myth. Trips are chaos, no time, no service. Sometimes true, but patterns are louder than anecdotes. Healthy trips are predictable in their unpredictability. You get a quick landed, a messy hallway video, a tired face on FaceTime, a morning headed to sessions. Entangled trips are artful in their opacity. You get a polished photo of a table, no people, a vague, long day, a battery of reasons why check-ins are infantilizing, and an end of trip, it was fine, nothing to tell, that feels like a summary written in a hurry. You don't demand hourly pings. You request a structure you are willing to mirror when you travel. 2 anchors each day, 10 minutes max. 1 when the day starts, 1 before bed. If that can't be met without sarcasm or turns into a debate about trust, the problem isn't the itinerary, it's the ecosystem. Practical test. Pre-trip. Co-create a travel template that protects both people's nervous systems. It has 4 parts. 1. A shared calendar entry with flight numbers and hotel. 2. The 2 daily 10-minute anchors, morning before bed, with the understanding that missed anchors get a quick text. Crashing after debrief. Love you, talk in the morning. 3. 1 candid photo a day that has context, faces, locations. Not to surveil, to humanize. 4. A re-entry window after landing. A coffee, a walk, a debrief, where the story of the trip is told freely without being dragged out. You keep this template when you travel too. Travel that's clean will breathe easier inside a simple frame. Travel that's crooked will bristle, bargain, forget, and then shift the argument to your controlling nature. A brief scene. She's at a conference 2 hours ahead. Night 1, you get a goofy hallway selfie on the way to the elevator, and a tomorrow is packed. Call at 7:30. Night 2, the anchor slips. You get a fell asleep sorry at 1:13 a.m., which happens. Night 3. There's a polished table photo and a 24-minute silence after your good night. The morning call is clipped, the itinerary is suddenly foggy, and the re-entry debrief is same as yesterday. Sessions, you know. You don't cross-examine, you mark the pattern. 1 slip is life. A sequence is a map. The map says liminality is being used as a veil. Standards don't punish veils. They stop funding them. We keep the anchors, or we stop calling it a partnership while you travel. Not said with heat, said with spine. Self-audit. I knew travel became a corridor when maybe it was the no service text accompanied by multiple social posts, or crashing early, combined with a time-stamped payment at 12:47 a.m., or the way the voice gets flatter across days instead of warmer as home gets closer. Again, none of this convicts anyone in court. It convicts the story in your body so you can stop pleading with yourself to doubt your eyes. Recalibration in 1 line. I won't demand a play-by-play. I require anchors. The difference is adult. It honors autonomy and tells the truth about nervous systems. Love thrives on predictability more than poetry when distance stretches. Let's consolidate the 5 places and the 5 moves so you can act without drama. After hours work, noble purpose can become a planet. Move, clarity without performance. Late happens, secrecy doesn't. Test, mirrored heading out texts. Fitness spaces, improvement with touch. Move. Diversify the ritual. One shared session, one breakfast after. Test. Watch resistance versus welcome. The phone at night. Intermittent pellets behind a glow. Move. Anchor time, not content. No devices in bed, dark dinner for a week, you too. Test. Does the device calm down or stage manage? Respectable community. Halo plus tribe plus license. Move. Require porosity. Host once, volunteer once, overlap once. Test. Sunlight makes it stronger or smaller. Travel. Liminality plus anonymity plus logistics. Move. 2 anchors, shared itinerary, 1 candid photo, re-entry window. Mirror it when you travel. Test. Template fits like oxygen or feels like a trial. Notice what isn't in any move. Begging, guarding, or borrowing anger to feel strong. Strength lives in clean sentences that you can keep without anyone's permission. If the bond is alive, these standards feel like a safe rail. If the bond is migrating, these standards reveal it faster, saving you from the slow bruise of ambiguity. 2 common objections deserve airtime. First, isn't this paranoid? No. Paranoia invents patterns. Precision notices them. You're not filling in blanks with fantasies. You're asking whether time and words match. Second, won't standards push her away? Standards never push the right person away. They reveal who was already walking. Here's your 7-day action plan. No speeches, no threats, just alignment. Day 1, work. Propose mirrored heading out texts for late days. Keep yours faithfully. Day 2, phone. Park devices during dinner and in bed. Make it about your nervous system, not her virtue. Day 3, fitness. Ask to share 1 session this week plus breakfast. If schedules clash, book a walk during the hour she'd be at class. Day 4, community. Volunteer once or host once. If not now, set a near date. Day 5, travel. If a trip is coming, set the anchor template. If not, draft it together anyway for future trips. Day 6, check-in. Ask 1 open question. Does any part of our week feel like it's stealing oxygen from us? Listen without litigating. Day 7, decision. If 2 or more areas tightened and warmed, lean in, plan something generous. If 2 or more resisted sunlight and consistency, step back, reduce access proportionally. Less on-demand emotional labor, fewer last-minute rescues, and let the system reveal itself. If you're watching this and realizing that one of the 5 places already became a pipeline, there are only 2 honest roads: repair with responsibility or release with respect. Real repair sounds like this. You're right. The pattern bent. Here's where I crossed lines. Here's what stops now. Here's how you'll be able to predict me again. Then you watch consistency for weeks, not hours, not a tearful night. Weeks. Release sounds like this. I love you enough not to make either of us perform. I'm stepping back because the story and schedule won't agree. Neither requires rage. Both require spine. A final scene to carry with you. Sunday night. The house is quiet. You stack the week's standards on a single line in your head. I won't chase transparency. I'll live where it's native. You write it on a sticky note and put it where your keys sleep. Tomorrow may bring a late meeting, a new class, a glowing screen, an earnest committee, or a boarding pass. None of those are enemies. They're environments. Your nervous system knows the difference between privacy and secrecy, between rhythm and fog. Believe it the first time it tells you the music changed. 24-hour challenge, part 2. Choose one of the last 2 places, community or travel. Set 1 standard you can keep without help. For community, let's host or overlap once this month. I won't live where big parts of our life stay sealed. For travel, 2 10-minute anchors and a candid photo each day will mirror it both ways. Then measure 1 outcome, the relief that enters your chest when your behavior matches your boundary. Relief is data. When you honor it, attraction to yourself rises. And paradoxically, That's the only attraction that never betrays you. If this gave your gut a language, subscribe, like, and tell me your city in the comments. Then share this with a man who keeps ignoring the place where his story started to bend. Betrayal doesn't begin in dark corners, it begins in respectable light. Once you learn to see the light clearly, you won't have to live in the dark at all.